Just like Lane Kiffin did, Ryan Grubb throwing shade at Brent Venables.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in the industry. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire and USA Today Sports. And on today's show, Greg Sankey promoting a big number of SEC teams to the college football playoff. We'll discuss that in the third segment. In segment 2, Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle had their press conferences a day early. We'll react to some of the most important things they had to say, including R. Mason Thomas, Kobie McKinzie injury updates. But first, offensive coordinators seem to have an issue with Brent Venables and his defensive staff's ability to scout, because Ryan Grubb had some comments about the Oklahoma Sooners' ability to acquire signals and said, Brent Venables, if you're paying attention, guess what? Everything's changing.
He went off of the Lane Kiffin quote of that, Oklahoma does a really good job of quote unquote stealing signs and catching tendencies because of the film they watch. Now, Lane Kiffin was saying, I was saying that as a compliment because have how good Brent Venables has always been. And Brent Venables responded before the Ole Miss game and said he took it as a compliment, I guess, because it came from Lane and, all the fun, weird stuff that went with it.
Yeah.
So Ryan Grubb tried to make a joke out of it. And to me, it did not fall flat. I knew it was tongue in cheek because he immediately followed up. And I want the listeners to hear this portion of it is he followed up immediately and said, everything they do is is legal and all in within the parameters of the rules. And so he wasn't trying to say that Oklahoma steals signs, but he did kind of, have fun at the fact that Lane Kiffin said that because for some reason a reporter felt the need to ask this question. So just prepare yourself. I think Eli Drinkwitz is going to say something really weird about it next week. And then I have no clue who the offensive coordinator is at LSU anymore. I'm going to have to go do some Googling on that. And he's probably going to say something as well. Actually, I'm not sure if he really knows who Lane Kiffin is, depending on the role and this new person is at LSU. But I digress. That's went over the trail. I just did a squirrel thing. So my point, I think Ryan Grubb was having fun with this whole situation, but at the same time, it's still hilarious that this is continuously coming up.
Yeah, it's a funny narrative. And I had a buddy text me about it not long after it. He's like, why is everybody so concerned about Oklahoma and this sign stealing thing? And it's just one of those things that if you have tendencies, this staff is going to pick up on them. And if you want to make sure that they don't, you're going to probably have to do what Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin did, which is huddle late, get to the line of scrimmage late, and then run your play. You're not going to allow them opportunities to make a lot of adjustments at the line of scrimmage. And that's the way to counter what Brent Venables tries to do. This is just a well-prepared staff. That's what it comes down to. And yeah, I don't think Ryan Grubb is like taking any of this seriously. It's all fun banter, back and forth between coaches. They have a lot of respect for each other. And listen, Brent Venables, I'm sure, has a lot of respect for Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer and that offensive staff. He said as much in his press conference as well. So it's just one of those things that's going to be a consistent narrative that's out there, and fans are going to overreact to what the coaches and the coordinators say when it's a tongue-in-cheek comment. But listen, there is some quote unquote validity to it, but it's not illegal. It's just they watch the film and they pick up on tendencies, which any good staff should be able to do.
Yeah, that's kind of the most important thing about being a staff in general, as far as scouting and advanced scouting, is you should understand what the opposition is doing and then going out there and beating them. That's like what we all do. Like, you got the same tape as everybody else. Yeah. You have access to the same tape to be able to watch and do all of that. So I think it's funny that, this is where we're at, to where people are trying to act like stealing signs is what's happening. They're wearing headsets, for crying out loud. The information goes in there, and then at the 15-second mark, it's when things fall apart for a lot of people. We're not at the point anymore that we used to where you're throwing out some do when it comes to doing some of the tempo stuff, but yeah, guys, it's in the headset. Like I said, Ryan Grubb was picking fun at that, but I still don't understand even why Lane Kiffin even made the comments. I mean, I understand that he was a little bothered, in the national championship, he had to play against Clemson or whatnot. And I guess I get that. He had to bring up all the old games he played against Brent Venables back in the day. But, Lane is Lane. That's why everyone loves him. He's just going to continue to be a pain in everybody's tush and say stuff that don't make any sense. But I digress. It's going to be fun seeing Brent Venables go against Ryan Grubb. We haven't got to see it yet. The only real time I've seen Ryan Grubb, and I feel like he's going to get somebody pretty good, was PK over there at Texas, in which, you got to see those two battle, and Washington won both games. He's 2-0 against them, so we got to see him actually make that happen. So I'm kind of curious to see what this battle is going to be going back and forth. But even Kalen DeBoer made a joke about it. He had something to say on it. Everybody has got something to say about Brent Venables and his ability to advance scout. I think that's also why we can take note here that Brent Venables is one of the best defensive coordinators in the last 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Venables is in their head. To me, that's what it comes down to, is they're so concerned about his ability to, again, pick up on tendencies, read formations, understand what an offense is trying to do, that they're concerned that, hey, he's got a beat on our signals. Well, and what's funny is, like, Caden Green from Missouri actually mentioned something similar about Texas A&M from this past weekend, that Texas A&M just had a beat on what they were trying to do offensively as well. This is just what happens. Good defensive staffs can, again, just pick up on the tendencies. What do offenses like to do? What are their go-to plays? What are some of the go-to schemes that they want to run in certain down and distances? There's so much advanced analytics now that anytime a team gets into an 11 personnel, there's going to be a breakdown for what they like to do the most in 11 personnel. That's 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end. There is going to be an advanced breakdown for what plays they prefer to run out of 12, things like that. All of this is the advanced scouting stuff. And if you've been around a long time, like Kalen DeBoer and like Ryan Grubb have, teams are going to have an understanding of what are some of the things you prefer to do. Now, again, so much of it is X's and O's, but it's like the old saying, it comes down to the Jimmies and the Joes. Who executes better? Who's got the better talent? That matters just as much as some of the schematic stuff that we like to talk about, the play calling and all of that. It comes down to which team executes the best. Because it doesn't matter if Brent Venables knows exactly what play call is coming if they can't stop Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. It doesn't matter. So you still got to stop it.
Yeah, it means nothing if you can't stop that. Right, exactly. So it's going to be very fascinating to see exactly how that happens. And Ty Simpson throws darts. Both the coaches talked about him, so we can jump into that from the presser. They had a lot of praise on what Alabama's doing over there. And truth be told, I mean, Ty Simpson has impressed me this entire season too. It hasn't. He's come out and played a lot better than I anticipated, even a lot faster. Like after that Florida State game, I was like, I don't know, he may not be that guy. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, never mind.
He's that guy. Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating matchup because this Alabama team is playing as good as anybody in college football right now, in my opinion. And, since that Florida State loss, I remember a few weeks back, I ranked them in my top 5. This was like maybe week 4 or week 5, my top 5 in the SEC. And somebody's like, how could you put them up in the top 5 after that Florida State loss? I'm like, they're just playing good ball. They just look like a good football team. Now, Oklahoma can go beat them, but it's going to take a really good game from the Sooners. Let's look at what Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle had to say in their press conference on Monday, coming up here on Locked On Sooners. College football is here, and we couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout, and that's why we use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. You can pull up the Game Time app, and in just a couple taps, you can see amazing deals talking about your favorite college football games or basketball games for as low as $25 or even less at times. I love the zone deals too. You can pick a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you can save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the industry. Jay, what was one of your biggest takeaways from the Oklahoma side of the press conference junket today?
It was so much that came out of it, right? There's a lot of details that was just flowing out of, no, not really. You don't usually get a lot out of these pressers, but you get enough. I think to start with Brent Venables, I think one of the things that jumped out to me the most was him talking about being at his son's game. He was at the Clemson game. He was dressed, decked out. We talked about this last show. He was decked out in Clemson gear, but it felt good, and he was excited about T-Bone, a.k.a. Tyler Venables, following his own dreams, finishing there at Clemson, and he figured it out on his own, and he was proud of him for doing that. And then when you listen to T-Bone talk, he sounds just like his daddy, which is pretty terrifying. BV does mark his kids. Definitely an amazing thing. It's him. It's Zach Alley sound just like him. And then you had Dabo Sweeney out there impersonating him, and it wasn't too bad. The gravel in the voice was a little bit there, but you could tell that Dabo's older, so it didn't get as gravelly as you would have wanted. And because BV still sounds pretty young, even though the voice is pretty gravelly. But outside of that, he really talked up about, like Gracen Halton has stepped up as a leader, one of those big pieces and kind of one of those you need. Same thing with David Stone. You're starting to see these guys really step up and own that defensive line, and I really love hearing that.
Yeah, on the David Stone piece, somebody had asked Brent Venables about him carrying the Oklahoma flag out on game days, and Venables just talked about how much pride David Stone has in where he comes from and playing for Oklahoma. And I think that's really exciting. Like, I'm not a born and raised Oklahoman, but Oklahoma is my home now. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing David Stone run on the field carrying the Oklahoma flag. There's a state pride thing that comes with being a Sooner and being a Sooners fan. Like, this is, yes, we have the Thunder now, but this is it. Like, this is the big deal. And for a kid like David Stone, also having a breakout season in the midst of all that, it's just huge, man. And given all the things that went on in the off season, the real short little period of drama that we had, I'm pumped for what he's done this year. And then also for what his future looks like, because everything's on the table for him. He's got a huge opportunity to continue to make himself known and establish himself as a top 50 draft pick one day in the NFL draft. You're muted.
He's right there. He's right there. He's one of the higher graded players on this defense. My bad. I was clearing my throat and I didn't want to cough all in anybody's ear. But no, seriously, Stone has really shown us that he is a guy that is he's ready to step up and take over. And so next season you'll have Dominic gone, right? So you'll have him, Jaden Jackson, the only two dudes really right there in the middle, and then Gracen Halton's gone. And so it'll be those two. Then you'll be right behind them with like Marcus Strong. You're going to be bringing up a lot of the younger guys to go along with what you're getting out of Stoney and Jaden Jackson. And I'm pretty excited about because I think David Stone's going to continue being a leader on this roster for them. BV also, of course, talked about the not only how good Alabama is, talked about Ty Simpson and how him being a coach's kid and good with his instincts. I think one note that came out of that too was how efficient he is. And, you know, because of his efficiency, one thing that Brent Venables harps on a lot, he only threw one interception this season. BV pointed out a great stat, and we talked about this beforehand, John. 16-0 when Oklahoma wins the turnover battle since 2023. It's pretty darn good.
It's impressive. I mean, it's an age-old adage in football that the team that wins the turnover battle is more often going to win the football game, like at a very high clip. No doubt about it. It's one of those games or one of those games within the game that if you're able to win the turnover battle on a consistent basis, you're going to win the football game. Oklahoma won the turnover battle against Tennessee 3-2, was able to sneak out with a 9-point win. It probably should have been 3-1 in the turnover battle, but that's a digression for another time. It's important, no doubt about it. And Ty Simpson has done as good a job as anybody in college football. Again, 21 touchdowns, just one interception. No, I say that he's done the best job of anybody in college football at taking care of the football. He's been fantastic, incredibly accurate, makes on-time decisions. He has been phenomenal. He's been, I think, who a lot of us thought Garrett Nussmeier was going to be this year. And here we are.
He really is.
Here we are.
Exactly who we thought Nussmeier was going to be. That's the crazy part. Hey, same thing with Lagway. We thought all of this stuff, all this improvement was going to show up. And Ty Simpson showed out there. He's like, look, I've been on the bench at this school for 3 years.
Yep.
I walked in here my senior year and I earned my spot. He did something that rarely happens. Actually, the only other player that's done that right now, honestly, is Garrett Nussmeier, be at the same school for 4 years before you, and then you play.
Yeah. Fortunately,
it didn't work out for Nussmeier because it appears that he really is injured.
Yeah, he is. And I don't know if he'll play against Oklahoma at the end of the season. You know, it's important to take care of the ball. At the same time, you got to have your quarterback confident enough out there to go make plays. And I think that's right now the difference in what we're seeing from like guys like Ty Simpson and John Mateer is that there just doesn't seem to be as much confidence from John Mateer to go out and sling the football. You know, earlier in the season, that was not an issue. He was getting the ball out, getting it out on time, making big plays down the field, and then had a couple interceptions, got, some miscommunications on some routes that didn't, that ended up being a turnover. And it seems like, and then again, the Texas game happened where he was not 100% healthy, but he tried to play through it. Credit to him. And there were turnovers due to some bad throws. I feel like he's taken a hit in his confidence to where he's so afraid to turn the ball over now that he's a little bit jumpy in the pocket and not as consistent with his mechanics and his timing as he needs to be for Oklahoma to have an effective passing offense. And I hope this isn't a sign of what happened to Jackson Arnold, because Jackson Arnold, now he was a little bit late in that Arizona game. He was, but Jackson Arnold was not the same quarterback the year that he started for Oklahoma that he was as a true freshman. And I think some of it comes back to, we spent 9 months talking about turnovers, not turning over the football, protecting the football, that the quarterback got in his head a little bit about, I can't throw the football because I'm afraid to turn the ball over. And I hope that we're not running into the same thing with John Mateer.
I disagree. I don't think we're there. I don't even think we're at that point. John Mateer, John Mateer's throwing the ball in places he probably shouldn't throw it anyway. So I don't think that any preaching that we probably have done is about not doing turnovers sure isn't working, because that's what he does. He throws the ball in places he should not throw it very often. So I don't think he is gun shy in that capacity. To me, it's felt like on the John side, like I get what you're saying when it comes to Jackson Arnold, because he was gun shy all year. And honestly felt like that was because he was getting abused in practice. I didn't think it had anything to do with his confidence of don't turn the ball over. I think it was throw the ball, please, but be careful because your teammates are really, really good. And so you're going to have to think before you throw. I think with Mateer, the thing has been, I don't think he was confident in that leg, because, BV mentioned he had a knee thing, and I don't think it was his thumb. I think it was the knee thing, and I think he just wasn't confident in planning and chunking it. But then when he started doing it against Tennessee, he was like, oh, I could do this. I'm good. He started chunking it. But I get what you're saying on BV harping on the turnover piece, but I don't think his harping on it is really on the offensive side. I think it's him trying to get his defenders to, hey, punch the ball out, guys. Get that pick that you were doing. Because in the Tennessee game, it looked like they were way more free-flowing in the secondary in comparison to what they typically do, defensively. It felt like defensively they were more methodical about making sure that, okay, we're going to put a whole bunch of pressure on them. Don't look for the ball. Focus on the hands. Play defense to the hands, which Saban has always taught that, while at the same time, his guys knew that as soon as he saw the receiver's hands do this, he turned to look for the ball, and there's an interception in their hands. So they played it a lot smarter. It felt like in the Tennessee game in the first half, our secondary was like, yeah, be free-flowing, pay attention to where the passes are going, because he's going to give you – Joey Aguilar is going to look where he's going to throw it. He's going to wind up to throw it, and he's going to quickly release it. So just be prepared. When you know the wind-up's coming, get out there and get it in. We took advantage of it. So yeah. I don't think it was more John. I think it was more – his defense needs to get more turnovers.
Yeah, he was more confident in the Tennessee game than he was the Ole Miss game. It's the Ole Miss game where I felt like there was just something not quite right about his timing and his release, where something was not right. So hopefully through the bye week, through what he's done through the Tennessee game, through the bye week, we come out against Alabama and we have a team and a quarterback that looks a lot like the one that played against Michigan and Auburn in the first 4 games of the season, because that dude was killing it. And if that dude shows up, Oklahoma's going to have a great chance to win this game. If he doesn't, I think Oklahoma still has a good chance to win the game, but it's going to be a lot tighter ball game because I don't think they're going to get 3 turnovers from Ty Simpson in this one. Greg Sankey thinks as many as 8 SEC teams should be in the college football playoff. That math ain't mathing, but I'm here for it.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who scores next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. Keeps the game exciting, right? Especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on every platform and on YouTube. So hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So Greg Sankey is on the campaign trail for the SEC. Mentioned on Monday that as many as 8 SEC teams should be considered for the college football playoff field, including teams like Missouri and Tennessee. I like Papa Sankey out here promoting the conference. That math isn't going to math, but I think this is hey, we think 8, but we're going to settle for 6.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to go ahead and say no. Look, I expect the way things can go and the way I think things will go, we will have 5 teams in the playoffs because there's a very good chance that you have 4 SEC teams that are 10-2. So you'd be 3 10-2s, a 10-3, and an 11-1 or 12-0. There's a 13-0. There's a very good chance, or even 12-1 or 13-0. I digress. It's a very good chance you have 5 teams with 10 wins. And if you end up with 5 teams with 10 wins, yeah, we're probably going to get every single one of them in there. But I don't see a 9-3 team getting in there this year, even with us. Like, we can beat Bama, move up. But if we lose one of Missouri or LSU, there's a very good chance we get knocked completely out of it, mainly because LSU and Missouri, neither one of them will most likely be ranked when we face them. If Missouri wins this coming weekend, sure, they may move up the rankings and possibly be like 24, 25-ish, but they ain't going to be in a respectable spot enough in order to help Oklahoma at the end of the season. Same thing with Alabama. If they lose to us and they lose to Auburn at the end of the season, they're out. They're not going to make it because that Florida State loss was so bad, plus an Auburn loss on top of it. So that'd be two teams that are now not ranked. Yeah, that with losing records, not even bowl eligible.
Yep.
Most likely will get them completely eliminated from it. So it's going to be tough, but I do see a world where there's a possibility where you've got Texas A&M, Georgia, Alabama, us, and probably Texas or Vanderbilt in the playoffs. There is a very good chance that can happen.
So I pulled up the ESPN, college football playoff predictor, just, for fun here, and just to see what would happen if Oklahoma were to win out. And obviously they'd be in the college football playoff. They'd be one of, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're getting a bye week.
5 SEC teams. You get A&M, yep, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama in there. The interesting thing here, Jay, is if Oklahoma loses to Alabama and wins against Missouri and LSU, they still have a 44% chance to make the playoff. And ESPN would project them as the 10 seed in that scenario.
I just don't see it. I don't see 6 teams making it in there. Now Vanderbilt
they'd still be the 5th team. There'd only be 5, yeah.
Well, I guess the question for me is, where's Vanderbilt? Like, is Vanderbilt in a situation that are they being overlooked? Ole Miss, of course. I didn't even mention Ole Miss when I talked about the teams that I mentioned. I mean, that's A&M, Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, and Oklahoma, which could all potentially, and Vanderbilt. That's 7 teams that could finish with 10 wins, possibly.
Yeah.
Which is wild to even think, but that is an actual possibility because really the only teams that intersect here is going to be Georgia, Texas, and Texas A&M. So Texas would have to beat one of those 2 teams. Actually, they would have to beat both of those teams. And if they beat both of those teams can still end up with 10 wins at the end of the season. So it's really big on Texas's back. Ole Miss has no reason not to finish out the season strong with 11 wins. Alabama can still finish the season 10-2 because we're going to beat them this weekend. I'm just going to go ahead and say it out loud. And then you have A&M, which they could finish with, with 1 loss, which would be against Texas. And in that case, it'd be A&M versus Ole Miss or Georgia, one of those 3 in the SEC championship game. But those 3 are automatically in there. Us and Bama would be in there. And Texas with 3 losses will probably be eliminated. So then at least Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt could jump up there too. There's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, Vanderbilt's the wild card there. I mean, if Vanderbilt wins out, they beat Kentucky and they beat Tennessee, they're going to be in the playoff, I think. I just think, that story of Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt is too good that, listen, I know we don't want to admit that ratings and all that stuff play into this, but it certainly does. Storytelling plays into it, just like it will with March Madness. Diego Pavia is a story that they're going to want to have in the playoff. And if they win out, they're a 10-2 team. And I don't have an argument against them being in the playoff. It's a really good team. Now, do they have, these big signature wins? If you want to call Missouri that, okay, maybe, but they didn't beat Texas. They didn't beat Bama. They didn't beat Georgia. Did they play Georgia? I think they played Georgia. No, they didn't play Georgia. Vandy.
No, they have not this year.
Sorry, I don't know Vandy's schedule, but
yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, I pulled it up. No, they have not. They have Tennessee coming up to end the season, and I mean they've got a kind of cake schedule.
So what's interesting, like you look at. So at the time that they played South Carolina was number 11 in the nation. At the time that they played LSU was number 10 in the nation.
Right.
Missouri was number 15 in the nation. So like a big picture look at their schedule, it looks impressive, these wins, but LSU stinko, South Carolina's terrible, Missouri is pretty good, but just kind of okay.
technically 3 wins against ranked teams that were ranked at the time when they played them. And they were all ranked within the top 15 in the country when they played them.
Same with Oklahoma, because Auburn, Michigan, and Tennessee. So there you go. But so, I mean, listen, it's a good team with a good story. I bet that they make it if they're 10-2.
They beat Kentucky and Tennessee, they're in.
Yeah.
Period. Now that hurts us because we would like Tennessee to have a really nice record. That makes our resume look so much better. But at the same time, I don't think that Tennessee loses. So that loss to Vanderbilt may not knock them out the top 25. They may be in the top 20 at that point. But yeah, we need a lot of. Sankey is very ambitious with his take. I don't see it.
No, I don't see it either. I just see this as a guy selling his conference.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're selling a car, you're asking, 20% over what you're willing to take for it, basically. And that's just what Greg Sankey's doing here. Really what needs to happen to clarify some of this is Georgia just needs to beat Texas this week, and then A&M needs to beat Texas at the end of the season. Oklahoma wins out. Easy breezy, no big deal. But a 9-3 Texas team might be a team that's in consideration. A 9-3 Oklahoma team might be a team that's in consideration. Like I said yesterday, those two teams are better than BYU. They're better than a second place Big 12 team. I'm not here for any conversation that has a second place Big 12 team in the playoff, unless that second place team is Texas Tech because they lost in the Big 12 championship game, which I could totally see the Big 12 rigging it to where they do lose in the Big 12 championship game just to get a second team into the playoff.
Honestly, I think that if Tech loses in the Big 12 championship, that knocks them out of the playoffs.
I love that. Although some of the projections I've seen that have Texas going to Lubbock for the first round game, I kind of want that.
I'll inject that in my veins. And then send them to College Station right afterwards.
Yes. Yeah. Like that would be it'd be so fun. It'd be just a lot of fun. Now, if Oklahoma had to go to Jones, I'm not sure how I'd feel about that. But
I would totally love to go down to Lubbock. Send us down there. I think we could.
Last time we were there, it went well for Oklahoma.
Exactly.
Theo Weiss had a big game. Caleb Williams had a big game for the Sooners in that one. So
let's get it. Well, we played them with Dylan Gabriel, didn't we, in 22?
Yeah, I think that was here. That was in Norman.
Was that Norman? I thought that was there. It felt like it was there. Let me look it up.
We're doing all kinds of great schedule research here on the show today because it's a throwback episode. Apparently,
it really is. No, it was at Texas Tech. It was an overtime loss, 51-48.
Man, I could have sworn they played there in 21 too. No,
Yeah,
that
they
was
did
at
play
home,
there.
I guess.
21 was at home.
Was at home.
52-21.
Yeah. I just remember that being a night game and Theo Weiss going off.
Yeah, that was the Theo Weiss game. And then we didn't play him in 23 at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's fun. Tell us what was your favorite Big 12 game from the last couple of seasons that we got to play in the Big 12. I don't know. I digress. The Texas game, really, that was the best one. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. My mouth is just getting tired, apparently. My coffee ran out, and so I don't have any lubrication here. Follow me at John 9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay. I'm John. Boomer
Sooner.